Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan Kipp, your town moderator, and I'm joined here by someone you all know, Sherry Farrell, our town clerk. And we're here today doing a voter education initiative, is what we're calling it. We're trying to produce some cable TV segments for you to watch to just learn some of the things that we all worry about and have to take care of to make sure we have fair, safe, and efficient elections. Now, Sherry, you have a lot of responsibilities typically as town clerk, so elections isn't all you do. What are some of the other things that you have to continue to take care of even during election season?
Well, Jonathan, as you know, our Londonderry Town Hall is responsible for everything that happens within the community, and the town clerk and tax collector's office is really where all of the monies come through, and all of your automobile registrations, dog registrations, vital records, marriage licenses, the happy things like marriage licenses, but also the sadder things, death certificates, and of course taxes. And we have an incredible team that process everything each and every day. So elections is our focal point now, but we can't let anything else slip.
Understood.
So thank you for mentioning that, because we have a great team there in that office.
And while Sherry and I are here today to talk about elections, it's important for all of our viewers to understand just what a great team we have working with us. Two assistant town moderators, Rob Palmer and Cindy Conley, our three supervisors of the checklist are key to making sure we have those fair, safe, and efficient elections. The fire department, the police department, Public Works Department does a lot behind the scenes that you may not be aware of. And also our volunteer alert team. They're there for every election, volunteering their time to try to make sure traffic flows as efficiently as possible in and out of the parking lot. So we really want to acknowledge all of those folks who help us out.
Absolutely.
Including your staff, Sherry. They get engaged as well.
Yeah, Sherry, Christy, Allison, we have Amy and Kayla, and our new clerk, Carol. So we are just really blessed, and Christy, my deputy. So, it takes a village, and that's, the phrase that we keep going back to, and you can't do it alone. It's everyone, and our residents play a big role too.
Absolutely, yes, they do. So as I said when we opened, we're trying to answer some of the questions that we all get around elections. Hopefully we can address some of those here, and I'll encourage you to also watch the town Facebook page, the town website, the monitors in Town Hall. We're trying to put a daily message up there, just little snippets of information, one a day, so that our voters are as well informed as possible.
Right, yeah, information is power. And education is power, and that's what Jonathan's goal is with this segment that we're going to do, and we have 3 of them planned for you, so we hope you'll enjoy it. And people often don't realize the weight that our moderator holds on their shoulder. They are the chief election officer for our community, and with that comes great responsibility and a lot of worry and concern and preparation. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Jonathan?
Absolutely, Sherry, thank you. Yes. According to the New Hampshire State Constitution, every town and city has to have a moderator, and the moderator is the chief election official. So on election day, the moderator rules.
Truly does.
And it's an awesome responsibility. It's a position I enjoy because I like to try to help organize things and make sure all operations are running efficiently. But it's a huge challenge, and all the work that we do, Sherry, is dictated by statute. So you brought your election procedures manual that is issued by the Secretary of State, and I brought the New Hampshire election laws book, and you and I have to be familiar with pretty much everything in these books, and that's a real challenge because we have to do it according to law.
We really do, and thank goodness, because that gives us guidance, and it also gives us backbone when people question things, because you always are going to have those naysayers. But thanks to our Secretary of State's office, the laws, our legislation, it's here. And then this is, I shouldn't use the word Bible, but in many ways, these are our Bibles, and it's not something you read once. I mean, I can't count the number of times I've gone through with highlighters, and Jonathan, I know you do the same thing, even in preparation for today. There's always something new to learn and pick up.
Exactly. That's true.
And they always issue new copies of it, at least every couple of years we get a new one.
Yeah, because the legislature makes changes to the laws, as they have done, and we have to keep up with that. So this is the first of three segments. The first one, we're going to talk about pre-election, what's going on before an election occurs. The second one, we'll discuss absentee voting. We get a lot of questions around absentee voting. And then the third one, we're going to cover what goes on election day, including the handling of the ballots, the counting of the ballots, and the reporting of the results. And we're fortunate, there's actually going to be a fourth segment on one of your Londonderry Review segments, one of your Londonderry Review shows, Sherry, where our New Hampshire Secretary of State, David Scanlon, has agreed to come down and also share some of his perspectives as our chief state election official.
Absolutely,
So
right.
that will be interesting as well.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. One of the first times, I think, that our Secretary of State has had the opportunity to come down and be part of a community, so we're excited.
Well, we're very proud of that, and I think our viewers should know how well respected Londonderry is for how we run our elections, which is not thanks to either you or me.
No.
It's a long history. Those who have come before us started it, and we're just trying to maintain what's already been very
Great
well done.
honor.
And until the pandemic hit, Londonderry was, I think, the largest single polling place in the country.
Sure.
And we're now further down, like probably 3 or 4, because we all choose to vote at our gymnasium. Most other large communities separate into various wards
Right.
or what else, precincts.
Right, and in Londonderry we don't have a ward, which can be confusing on some of our forms, but as you said, Jonathan, it all happens right here in our gymnasium, which is incredible. It's just good old hometown America.
Exactly. So Sherry, leading into an election, what are some of the things, other than all your other work as town clerk, from an election perspective, what goes on before an election for you and your staff?
What surprised me even 8 years ago, taking on the role and being honored to be elected the Londonderry Town Clerk, was all of the preparation that goes on behind the scenes for any election, whether we're talking a town election or a state election, our primaries, our general election. I used to be one of those voters who, tried to get as educated as I could about the candidates, but then I'd come in with the girls and, quick vote, and really having no idea what it took to make that happen. And now in this role and with the incredible team in our office, months before we start anticipating absentee ballots, signing up our candidates, the paperwork, dotting every I, which is so important because every vote counts and every vote has to be validated and it has to be fair and transparent, and we take great pride in that. And with our leadership from the top, you're always very good with the checks and balances, because that's what this is all about, is we check each other along the way, and then the Secretary of State's office is our greatest check on it.
Absolutely. And a question I always had before I got involved is, what candidates sign up where to run for office?
My goodness, that too, fascinating. Our town elections, which are always the second Tuesday in March, for those elections, they sign up in our office, in the town clerk's office. They have to be registered voters. They come in, they sign up, we verify that they're a registered voter, and then the town clerk is responsible, and for us, shout out to all the town clerks and their staff throughout the state and city clerks. We're responsible for creating that ballot, and that's a great responsibility because with our primary coming up and our general election, our Secretary of State creates that ballot. We in the town for the primary, that's September 13th, we're just responsible for signing up the representatives and the delegates to office. Everything else is taken care of at the Secretary of State's office. And for these, the primary and the general, they create the ballot and then they send it to us. But in your town, it's us. It's something that we have to create and make sure is ready to go.
So when the sample ballots are published, which they're now up on our website, I believe,
Yes.
question I get is, who determined the order of the candidates on the ballot?
Jonathan, that is such a great question. I think some people, and again, because if it's like anything, until you walk into somebody else's shoes, you really can't know how things happen. And the names on the ballot for our town election are in this book, the order that we must follow. It's not something that we pick them out of a hat, or that we talk about it. It's not just alphabetical. It's a fascinating process, and This information is on the Secretary of State's website. And if you're running for office, of course, check, help us out, because we are human, all of us. And you get distracted, you've got other hats on throughout the day, other responsibilities. So it's part of the candidate's job to make sure that your name is in the correct place. It's fascinating, it's based on alphabetical first, but then if there are 4 candidates running, it might say that third candidate becomes the first on the list. It's a fascinating process, and it's proven to work.
Yes.
But it's not up to us, that's for sure. It's not up to us, no.
And we work together on many of these things that go on before an election. One of the things that we do with some election worker volunteers is when the ballots are received, I'm going to use the word inventory them. We don't count them, because counting is like counting the votes. But
Exactly,
we inventory the ballots because we have to know exactly how many we start with. So we have a gang come in and we count them. And then we also have to test all of our voting machines before the election, our AccuVote machines. And that's open to the public. The public is encouraged to come and watch us go through that process.
Right.
We fill out some sample test ballots, so we know exactly how many votes each candidate got, and then we run them through the machine, and those have to align.
They have to align. And another part of my office's responsibility is the signage. So as Jonathan described, the counting on the tally on the ballots, testing of the machines, that has to be posted so that our public is aware that they can come in and observe, ask questions, see how it all happens. And that's another part of our responsibility, is putting it in public places. Website, as Jonathan mentioned, the library, so that anyone who has an interest can come in and observe.
Exactly, and we encourage that because we want to be transparent.
And sometimes ideas that come from other people are some of the best ideas.
Agreed.
New ways to do old things, so other than the laws that we have to follow.
Right, we have to follow the laws. Something you may not be aware of, Sherry, I'm currently working on a diagram of the layout of the gym for the September election. It changes every election because of many factors. And for an example, with a primary election, our voters who arrive as undeclared must choose a party to vote in a primary, and then we have to provide a space on the way out where they can choose to go back to their party. So that's different than a November election.
It really is.
And then we'll work with the great staff at the schools department, Charlie Wilson especially. He sets up the gym based on the diagram we provide to him. So that's ongoing now. And we're also still recruiting poll workers. And we have to train them before the election.
Yeah, we have an incredible class that takes place about a week before, so it's fresh in everyone's mind, a couple hours at the least. Gives everyone an opportunity to ask questions and to understand how important their role is, and and what times they're going to be there, how it's all going to work. And from the moderator's point of view, you mentioned just so lightly that the setting up the gym and a new plan and all. That takes hours, because you have to think of things. Where are the wheelchairs going to go? What about if there happens to be a catastrophe that happens? What's going to be the most efficient to get our voters in and through the voting process and back out, not only quickly and efficiently, but safely? So there's so much that the moderator takes on, and these are year-long processes. You never really take a break from preparing for an election, which is a great honor, but you only get one chance to do it right. It's showtime on election day.
That's true, and everyone is different, and we always hope that, again, our elections are fair, efficient, transparent, and we want to make sure every voter is confident that they had an opportunity to vote and that their vote was counted.
Absolutely.
And we take that really to heart.
To heart, yeah. And in New Hampshire, I believe we do it the very best of anywhere in the country.
Well, I would agree with that. So Sherry, thank you. That was very interesting today. We covered what goes on before an election, and hopefully people will tune in for our second segment, which will cover absentee voting.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Jonathan.